if you could help me just real quickly, do, I see 3 of y'all. Actually, I see 2.5 of y'all. Actually, in combine, I see the total of 2 of y'all. There you go. I see all 3 faces. That was great. So if y'all could just come just a little closer together. Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, good. I will now let's all get up and do some jumping. I'm just kidding. Okay, so who's who? I'm Maurice. That's Terry. Who's who? If I could ask y'all, who's Heather?
I'm Debra. You're right here. This is Heather.
Heather.
Yes.
Okay, so Heather and I'm the other 2.
Debra.
Oh, okay. Deborah's in the middle. Okay.
Carrie.
Carrie. All right. Well, great to meet y'all. Okay. So I wanted to thanks for the opportunity. I enjoyed teaching and training on DiSC, and so hopefully y'all are already enjoying it, and this will be very helpful. All right. Did y'all get a chance to watch the video?
Yes.
Yeah. Question: Did y'all watch it together or separate?
Separately.
Separate. Okay. Did y'all kind of, as y'all were watching it, did you kind of laugh at the screen and go, "Oh, that is so much her"? Yeah.
No, usually me.
Yeah. Or how about this one? Or how about this one? You're sitting there going, "No, that can't be me. Huh? That cannot be me." Is that me? Is that me? That's not me. Am I? I don't. Okay, that's me, but I don't do that.
Right.
Right. All right. So let's go around the table real quickly and say, all right, whoever wants to go first. Who wants to take a shot at kind of identifying what your 2 are? Dominant, influential, steady, conscientious. Heather, you want to go first? I can see you just dying to go first.
Yes. So I don't think I'm dominant, but I'm an extrovert. So I assume that means I would need to have the influential aspect.
Okay, very good. Very well.
But I don't know between the other 2. Maybe conscientious, just because I'm a people person and a kind of a people pleaser.
Okay.
I'm not sure. So I'd be interested to see what it actually looks like.
That's very good. You read that really well. That's really good. Okay. All right. So Debra?
I'm not sure. Steady and conscientious, maybe?
Steady. Wait, who said no?
Wait, what's the? I said no. I'm saying
Steady.
no.
Steady. Okay.
I'm questioning with a question mark. No, I couldn't tell what I was. That's what I said. I'm sure you all said, "Oh, she's very schizophrenic because she's got lots of." I couldn't tell what I don't know. I had a hard time. Those are my guesses, but.
Okay. All right. And Carrie?
I kind of was like Debra. I'm like, maybe I don't know myself as well as I think I do. But I tended to think maybe high I, high S, which I think is in that the people person, the blend of the extrovert and the people person, I guess.
High I, high S. Okay, so can y'all see the screen?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, so Heather, you would say you're what? DI. What did you say?
Well, I said I, and then I thought conscientious, but maybe not. So.
Okay, so you would probably say more this right here.
Yeah, but I don't know that I'm results oriented as much as I wish I were.
Okay, now see, that's not a whole lot of results oriented because it's green. See, results oriented is a D.
Oh, I gotcha. I gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
I definitely would say influential over dominant. If I had.
All right. So the influential side really resonates with you.
I think so.
Okay. All right. All right. And if it's between the dominant results and conscientious detail, you would say you lean more towards the C.
I think so. Yes.
Okay. I won out an S. S is steady, conscientious, calm.
I think I could be calm. I'm not great on wanting processes. I'm very much a every day can be different and we don't need to
Oh,
process and people
that is,
crazy.
okay, so that is a very non-S.
Yes.
And so yes, if you can recognize that about yourself, then all right. So Deborah, Deborah, you said what did you say about yourself?
Said C and S because I don't think I'm influential because I don't think I can't sway anybody, and I'm definitely not dominant. I don't think those are the two things I wish I were, but I'm not. So the only two left would be the C and the S.
The C and the S. So somewhere over here.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Perfect. Carrie.
Yeah, I still think I'm the I and the S.
You still think that you are the I and the S.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Okay. And why so?
I'm not really sure now that I think about it. I do like the processes. I think that I can be persuasive. So maybe in the middle, and definitely that blend of being a people person. Like the example that you used in the video is that when you come into a meeting, I want to talk about everybody's weekend for 5 minutes before we do anything. I'm like, oh, that's
right. So you
Yeah.
would say you said IS.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, pretty cool. Okay, did you like the video? Did you like the way?
I thought it was helpful.
That was interesting.
Cool. Cool. So what we'll definitely send you, we'll send you this screenshot. Okay, we'll send you this PDF that I'm showing on the screen, because this is really your roadmap. The more that you learn this, the more that you'll just become really good at knowing how to tackle these issues. It doesn't mean you'll know how to perfect them, but at least you'll know where to work on, and it says so many cool things in just one screen. Here's the extroverts, here's the introverts, the people over here, what I'm saying? Remember what we talked about in the video? These folks who are dominant and conscientious, they tend to talk in terms of now and details, right? Folks that are extroverts and people tend to talk in terms of enthusiasm. Folks that are more people and yet they're introverts, they tend to talk in terms of calm processes. And folks that are results oriented and introverts, they tend to talk in more as details and calm. So your dominant tends to pull this way, your introvert, your influential pulls that way, your S pulls this way, your C pulls this way, and everybody pulls in what their preferred style is, and everybody's pulling in their own direction. Okay, and usually what suffers is good conversation and good decision making. Okay, because decision making, and watch, this is what's just so cool about the screen. Okay, is that ideas usually start. Now, it doesn't mean that they have to, but usually start up here. These are the brains that are usually going, ooh, I got an idea. Ooh, I got an idea. Ooh, I got an idea. It's not that these folks don't have ideas, but what do they do with them?
Think on them.
Yeah.
Consider them for a while.
You see what I'm doing right here? And the thing is, they have a ton of fantastic ideas. And honestly, they usually have the better ideas because they've already thought through the details more accurately, and they've already thought through the steps on how it ought to be done. Whereas the high Ds and high influentials, they're just high level people. And so they think of an idea, but they haven't thought through the details, they haven't thought through this, but yet they're okay with just spouting out ideas. See, I see Debra over there smiling. Okay. All right. And so what happens is ideas usually start this way, y'all, but watch. A good conversation should go this way. Enthusiastic about the idea. Let's collaborate about the positives. Let's talk about how we're going to do it. Then is it going to create stability? Let's talk about issues of that. Then let's get into issues of accuracy. Then let's challenge the idea. All right, let's decide, and then let's look for the results of the idea. Okay, And so the more that we're able to talk along these lines, the more unified and better of a team we become. But what did I say earlier? Okay. Earlier, I said that the D's they want to go which direction? Right here. They want to go this route. Okay. And they don't want to talk a lot about this. So when the conversation is heading this way, where does the dominant person do? They look at their watch. They want out of here. Okay. Does that make sense? Okay. And when the conversation is heading over here, enthusiasm, woohoo, and this person's just all excited because it's a great idea. What's this person doing?
I feel like that's me.
Say that again, Carrie.
Well, I don't know. Now you're saying that about dominant. I'm like, oh, I don't know. Maybe that
See,
sounds like me.
this is the
But I
person.
feel like I get big ideas and I get real excited about them, and then from there,
Yeah, of course, because the dominance usually can get excited about the initial idea, but once it starts getting into collaboration and conversation, oh man, they'll start looking at their watch in a heartbeat. Okay, why? Because we're talking about it too much.
yeah.
Okay, which that doesn't fit the style of a person that likes to speak in terms of what? Now, let's now talk about the details. So what the dominant person likes to do is go from here, which direction? Over here. And they want to bypass the conversation. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, the influential person, they love this enthusiasm. It's great, but they have a really hard time coming around here because the more you talk, the more you get into the details, and that is totally opposite than where the I feels comfortable, and they don't want to get the challenge because they do not want their idea to be shot down. Okay, so what's interesting is the S's, they love to talk about this, but when the conversation needs to be about enthusiasm, I ain't giving you no enthusiasm. I'm waiting for us to talk about how. If you want me to be enthusiastic, I want to hear about how first. Okay, and the C personality, they are over here waiting in total silence. Waiting and waiting and waiting to figure out what all this is about, because all the detail has to come out first before I give you my enthusiasm. Okay, by that time, the D is already bolted out. They don't have time for that. And this person has gotten personal. Why? Because the idea got shot the whole time through. Ooh, I just heard somebody whisper something.
Yeah. I'm all the bad things of all of them, I think.
Okay, when in all reality, the S's and the C's, they're not trying to be mean. They're just looking at these guys going, are you guys ever going to get down here and talk about the details and then talk about the reality of it? Because the extroverts, I myself am one of them, I love a great idea, and then let's get to action and results, and let's keep it up here, but don't challenge the quality, don't challenge the accuracy, don't challenge the steadiness of the process, and don't ask me to be consistent.
Just get it done.
Just get it done. And this is where people tend to have conflict, because their personalities drive to different parts of the decision-making wheel, and it just makes it hard to get on the same page and find like you're really respecting each other, and more importantly, respecting the idea. Okay, thoughts, comments, observation. Is this helping out?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay, so I think it's good if we just go ahead and look at your surveys. All right, so see, y'all aren't at a place where I can email it to y'all so y'all can look at it on your phones and open it up and look at your own.
Oh, I've got my phone.
Unless you have your cell phone,
Should we go get our cell phones?
look at your cell phones. Look at your cell phones. Yeah, that's a little bit of the best part of this.
I think maybe that's why it's forced to use.
Terry, did you get all of them?
I have not.
Look at your inbox.
All right. I'll send it to them.
No, I just did.
Oh, okay.
I sent it, yeah, I sent it to them individually, and then afterwards, we get their permission, and then you can send all of them to all of them.
Oh, I was right.
You are the bottom two?
I'm an I and an S. That's exactly what I thought.
Where's the second at the very bottom?
My lowest is dominant.
That's what you always
Isn't
say.
that funny?
And I was like, "Oh."
Yeah, because those characteristics at the bottom of the D are where I go when I'm done or I'm mad or I'm checked out. Like that's where
Where
I
does it say what you are?
go.
Go to page 3.
Yeah. You're a dominant. Look at you.
I said that's why I got divorced. is because-
girls.
Oh, look at you.
That is not what I expected at all.
But I'm a big S. I thought I might have been an S. Man, I'm a huge-
That's not that different from what you said.
No.
You're more S than you thought you were.
I'm a huge S.
Yeah.
I love the reactions at this moment whenever folks see it for the first time.
Well, as soon as you started saying just, this is the idea, let's do it, let's not talk about it, I'm like, uh-oh, that's me.
Yeah.
Push it through, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so I did better than I
You
thought
did
about
very
myself.
well, yes.
yeah, and remember, there is no better. It's just,
Yeah, I was
first
gonna
of all,
say.
recognizing
I know,
just
yeah.
that's who you are, you know what I'm saying?
I guess I know myself better than I thought I did.
Right, where we all need to become better is having conversations and listening to each other in the pattern of the circle, going from enthusiasm about the idea, high level enthusiasm about idea, recognizing that we haven't gotten to the details yet. But give me a little bit of enthusiasm, okay? Because the problem is there is no way that anyone can get enthusiastic once you get into the details. Why? Because the devil's in the details. By the time you get into the details, there is no enthusiasm. We're poking holes in this idea. You know what I'm saying? So the value of challenging details has its place, but we tend to just not be good at that circle. Does that make sense, y'all?
Mhm.
Yeah. All right. So let's spend a little bit of time on each one of them. Do I have your permission? I know y'all been showing it to each other, but that's one thing, you showing it.
Oh, yeah.
The other one's me showing it. Do I have your permission to show each other's and yeah, is that okay with y'all?
Yes, yes.
Okay. All right. Let's all right. All right. Let me see. Come on. There you go. Okay. Debra, can we start with you?
Sure.
Yay! Wonderful. Okay, so let's read this. Let's interpret this. Okay, and you'll see the same pattern will apply to all of y'all. What you look for is you look for the first dot, and remember from the video that tells you what your first dot, your highest dot, is your most natural inclination, your most natural habits. Okay, your second dot is probably what's referred to as your adaptive behavior, what you've learned to do over the years. Okay. And what's interesting, most of us tend to do this, is we tend to have 2 above the blue line because the adaptive tends to balance out the primary. In other words, again, Debra, permission to speak freely.
Sure.
If you get upset with Terry, okay? Not with me.
Okay.
I'm just the messenger, okay? I'm just the messenger, okay? All right. A high D that has another element above the blue line has realized, you know what? I better balance my roughness and my directness because it's not getting me very far. Okay. And so the value of having a secondary is to make your primary more effective and be more well accepted. Okay. And we all have a primary and we all have a secondary. Well, most of us do, for a reason. Okay. So what this tells me is that, remember the video, anything above the blue line is what? Yeah, remember? Good mood.
Good mood,
Okay.
good mood.
Good mood. Everything below the blue line is what? Bad mood. Bad mood.
I'm almost in a bad mood on all three of these.
Yeah, well, okay. Well, we'll have to
Or
we'll have to work on that, okay? And then the blue means transitional. In other words, you're kind of like, I don't know, I could go. So whenever you're right here, you're so close to blue that you could really be heading this way, or you could be heading down this way. Or if you're really upset, you're going to go down here real fast. Okay. But now notice this one is also a transitional, not because it's in the blue, it's right there, almost blue. So I would read this as being transitional behaviors because they're so close to the blue. However, okay, this is clearly out of the blue. So I would say you have the unique talent of being able to go from here to here, you know, in a matter of seconds. And we'll talk about what those are in just a few seconds. Does that make sense? Okay. But whenever you're in a bad mood, you probably either go here because you're in, I'm kind of feeling groggy, or you know what, I'm not groggy, I'm just PO'd. And then you manifest those there at the bottom. Okay. Now, it doesn't mean, by the way, that this is your mood swing like this. Okay. That's not the way it works. Okay. It means your mood swing could very easily go from here to here if these behaviors have worked for you in the past. Okay. But you might then come over here and then you might come over here. And it all depends on a case by case basis, however like you behave. It just means that these behaviors are the most common ones that you have found to have comfort level. And you realize, you know what, whenever I tap into this, it helps me get things what I want, or I'm able to become more creative, or I'm able to do this. So, you know, I'll go here a lot. It's kind of like what we say to each other, look, just shake it off. You'll see it differently in the morning. Okay. Because what happens when we say that is when you wake up in the morning, you're in a different mood. And so if we learn how to make decisions based morning routines, and look, just think about it for 2 days, it allows for all this to kind of reset. Okay. And here, let me pause right here. I want to pause this and make a statement that most people miss. This is why it's so dangerous to have meetings and force for decisions when we just heard about it for the first time on the day of. Because we could be in a mood, we make a decision, and we didn't allow the natural things of the daily resetting of things to make us think, because we forced a last minute kind of thing. Okay. And then there's those of us that need a good 7 days to think about things. And the dominants and influentials tend to only give half a day. And so that's where a lot of this comes in. However, in all fairness, the folks that are more introvert, they like to take 14 days, 21 days.
Your opportunity's gone by then.
Exactly right. So that's why you got to meet somewhere in the middle and say, okay, let's have a weekly meeting and let's discuss the whole of the business. Why? Because that's a good, fair point for the dominants to chill out. About 90% you want to bring up every time you get an idea, you want to talk about it now. No, we're going to meet Thursday. Don't we meet Thursday? Okay, well then put it on the agenda for Thursday. You know what I'm saying? And then there's the tendency of those that are not introvert to kind of say, yeah, let's think about it. Oh, she wants to talk about it again. Think about it some more. Oh, she wants to think about it again. Let's think about it some more. You know what I'm saying? And you just kind of agree to say, no, we're going to meet every week and keep a regular agenda. And that's the way. Why? Because the decision-making factor is not a Coke machine. You know, it's human beings. Here's the way I heard somebody put it. It's human beings going to bed at night and waking up in the morning and thinking differently. And it's like, wow, we don't recognize that in each other. Okay. Any thoughts, comments, observation on that? Is this helping out a little bit?
It is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So Heather, any thoughts, comments? I mean, sorry, Heather, Deborah, any questions, comments on this one? Does that describe you a little bit?
It does.
Okay, so what this tells me is that over here, if I were to just look at it real quickly, I would say you have a high D, you're very dominant oriented, you like to take risks, you like faster things, faster decision making, but you tend to balance it out with some steadiness because you recognize the need to have to create processes, or you like to rock the boat, but let's not rock the boat just because it's fun to rock the boat. So S tends to balance that out. Does that speak to you?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. Right behind your S is a good dosage of details, and let's get realistic about stuff. And if the woohoo needs to wait, I'm willing to forego the woohoo as long as we drive business more like this. Does that resonate?
Yes.
Okay. All right, let's go to your team members. Who wants to go next? Heather, I see you over there raising your hand, so I want to switch.
Sure.
Okay. All right, so let's look at what I always start off with is what? Top circle, top dot. Okay. All right, Heather, what do you notice right off the bat?
That's my good mood.
That's your primary tendencies.
Mhm.
Okay. You don't have a secondary tendencies,
Yeah.
but you have two very equal and even middle right there in the middle. So I'm going to say that's fine. That accounts for something. Okay. Why? Because again, most folks have two at the top and two at the bottom. You have a unique ability to have what?
3 at the top or 3 at the bottom.
You see what I'm saying? You have 3 above this. You see that?
Yeah.
So these are transitional. So you probably don't go negative on these.
Gotcha.
Does that make sense?
It does.
But over here, your high level of accuracy is high, but you probably don't demand excellence, accuracy from everybody. You're willing to chill out a little bit. Why? Because you have a little bit of window here. You're not very extreme in your intensity.
Okay.
Okay. But notice it's almost exactly the same as down here. So what I look to in this is that this tends to be a very much what I would call chilled out person. Okay.
Chilled out first.
Chilled out. In other words, there's not a whole lot of intensity up here, and there's not a whole lot of intensity down here.
Yeah, seems about right.
Okay. It seems to be a pretty much get along very nicely with folks, and please don't make me answer that. Heather, am I describing you?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So what I would say is you definitely bring a lot of calm steadiness into it. Okay. Where I would wonder whether you probably need is I would ask you in your decision making. How are you at making tough decisions and having hard conversations?
Not great with hard conversations.
Okay. See, that's what this points to.
Yeah.
What that points to with such a, you see what I'm saying, with all this, is that conflicts and conflict resolution, you know what? Let's just be even keel and chill out with one another.
Yes. And that's true in my personal life, my work life, all my life.
Yeah. Okay. All right. All right.
Just not talk.
All right. All right. So what's cool about this is that, watch, Debra brings a lot of the D into it, whereas Heather could bring a lot of the C details into it. You see how you knowing each other's personalities, you recognize, okay, Debra brings us to the beginning of the conversation. Hey, where's my coffee?
I wish I could offer you some.
Oh,
Well, then fine. I'll just drink my water.
I'll never go to bed if I drink coffee slave.
All right, so this is where you can see that Debra brings a certain level of strengths and Heather brings others. And so it's recognized that, look, Heather's going to bring us into the first parts of the decision-making process. She's going to create the ideas. She's going to create enthusiasm. But now, before we go into action, okay, we need to then get into the collaboration, the processes, and the details. Okay, and you pretty much learn, you pass the baton in conversations, and you learn to help each other stay in the circle instead of at each other, trying to get around each other. Okay, Carrie, you ready for yours?
Sure.
And then there's Carrie. All right. So what does this tell us?
That description of the D, when I am done, I am done. You're not gonna get a word out of me. I'm done.
You're done.
And if you're quiet, you know something is wrong.
Okay. So see, that sounds to me a whole lot of what the graph is showing us on the screen.
Yeah.
Okay. Because it sounds to me you're describing this. Woohoo! This is great. This is wonderful. Woohoo! Let's talk some details. Okay, this is going nowhere. Bam! I'm out of here.
That's 100% me. Once I hit my wall, I'm out.
You're out.
Yeah.
Okay. So without knowing you, I would read this as an individual that is very much on the IS frontier. Okay, which is on the right side of the wheel. Remember, it's over here. When we looked at the graph, is IS. Okay, so it's right here. Okay, but the C is quite high, so it's really closer to. It's more like this. But it's still heavily on this side, people skills. Sorry, people. Okay, it's all about the environment, the socialness of it, the interaction, the relationships, and all that stuff. And when it comes to anything going around the wheel, we'll need to get into either challenging the ideas or anything. You're like, I'm out of here. Okay, so far so good.
Yes.
All right, so then let's dissect this a little more. What you do is you then go to page 4 is a good one-page description of page 3. I encourage y'all to read it. This is a good way to describe yourself. Okay, as you read it, if you want to print it out and put question marks around anything you have questions for, or you don't agree with something, highlight it, or something really resonates with you, circle it. Just use it to your advantage. Don't just keep it digital. I encourage you to print out a copy. Okay. Okay. Then my absolute favorite is page 5. And page 5 is where I know we've been laughing and this is so much fun, but this is where it really becomes very detailed. And you kind of go, whoa. Okay, so Carrie, can we start with you?
Oh yeah, because those bottom behaviors are where when I'm done, I'm done.
Yeah, but you're done in a very kind of like you're mild, quiet, unsure, dependent, and modest, but it's kind of like saying, yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah, that is me when I get where I'm done, I'm done.
Yeah.
You're not gonna get anything else out of me.
Yeah. And so y'all, heads up, when you see that, she ain't fine.
If I'm shut down, you'll know I'm in a bad place.
She ain't fine. Okay. And so here's the behaviors that you tend to show when you're up above the blue line. Okay. Emotional, self-promoting, trusting, influential, pleasant, sociable, generous. You know what I'm saying? So the good and the bad comes with it, because look how close you are to being impulsive. Okay, and look how yet on the other spectrum, look how close you are to being poised. And this is just humans. Humans have wonderful traits right next up to negative traits, all stacked up right next to each other. Okay. But then you're also team person, serene, possessive, complacent, inactive, relaxed, non-demonstrative. Then you go to careful, restrained, high standards, analytical, sensitive, mature, and evasive. And so it's good to learn page 5 because you begin to realize, wow, those are the behaviors that I show. Okay. I'll give you, if I can give you an example, a personal example. Maurice is this. Okay. This is me, followed by this, followed by this, and then followed by this. I mean, who in the world wants to be classified as being arbitrary, rebellious, defiant, obstinate, tactless, and sarcastic? Nobody does. But the sooner I come to terms with the fact that that is probably me, the sooner I can tackle not going to those areas. Okay, but here's an interesting concept, is that, like I mentioned to you in the video, do y'all remember this? When I said that my family and some colleagues noticed that Maurice loves to go right here. Fidgetiness. And I said, you're right, I do. I tend to go to fidgety because I'm trying to figure out whether I'm upset about something or whether I am getting out of a good mood to my happy place up here. So I use my fidgety as very much of a transitional behavior, but it wasn't until my colleagues and my family members, who we all knew each other's profile, that somebody observed after having watched me and says, so wait a minute, have y'all noticed that when Maurice volunteers to go clean one of the closets in the office, he comes out of there more pissed and he, you know, and I'm like, what? That never happens. And they're like, well, we don't let you help around here anymore. Because when you say, oh, I'll do the dishes, it takes you 12 minutes. Then you come out of something, and we don't know if you're upset because you have to do it. And I realized, no, in my fidgetiness is when I think about problems and then I get upset. And I had never noticed that pattern until somebody brought it up. Well, ever since then, how many times do you think I am cautious about what I'm doing in my fidgetiness? I'm constantly telling myself, don't go negative. And I'm talking to myself saying, heads up, you're being fidgety, something's bothering you, figure out what that is, and come to your happy place and resolve the problem. Don't go to your negative place and attack. Do you see how powerful this can be if we just use this as a guide for ourselves? Because if this is Maurice, if this is really Maurice, then I need to use it to my advantage and not just print it, say that's kind of cool, put it up in a bookshelf and say, let's move on to more important things. Let's use it. Okay. All right. So based on that, question, comments, observation, do you see how you could use it?
Yes.
All right. Y'all ready? Let's go to Heather. Let's work backwards. You ready for your page 5?
Yes.
Remember, it follows the same as page 3. Okay. Conventional, courteous, careful, restrained, high standards, analytical, sensitive, deliberate, amiable, stable, mobile, outgoing, alert, eager, poised, charming. You're so charming. Confident, observing, discriminating, reflective. And by the way, discriminating, that has no political inclinations. Okay, it's just okay. That's not okay. And then on the more negative side is self-effacing, realistic, weighs pros and cons, meek, conservative, peaceful, and mild. And you think, but why is that negative? Well, remember we talked about earlier that she tends to be a very even keel person. So even the negatives are not awkward. I mean, look at my awkward. You see what I'm saying? I pride myself in being that awkward. Terry knows that. Terry knows that. Okay. Heather, what do you think? Is this still you?
You know, I guess.
All right. So what I want you to do is read the first 12 pages and then let me know if you still agree with it. You see what I'm saying? Because here's what I would say. What you want to do is you want to be able to look at the definitions on page, look, the definitions of these words are on page 6. The definitions of these words are on page 7. The definitions of these pages are on 8. The definitions of these are on page 9. The same thing applies to you, Carrie. Okay. And so here, let's go down there real quickly and then we'll come back and do Debra. Okay. What you do is you go to page 6 and here's the definitions for your green. If y'all can look at the screen for a second. Okay. Every definition has a plus and a minus. Okay. And the way you can tell the plus and the minus is in the middle of the sentence. Okay. Watch. You're self-effacing. What does that mean? Well, somewhat reserved and low-key in your manner. You may sometimes employ wit to alleviate tension when you're working with others. That's awesome. That's awesome, right? Here it is. Being too laid back has its drawbacks, though. And then it tells you the negative. It can cause others to not take you seriously and cost you respect among your colleagues. The second definition, realistic. When you keep your feet firmly planted on the ground, you often filter out impractical ideas or bizarre suggestions. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Woo-hoo! Now watch, thus eliminating wasted effort. That's great. What does it say next? However, being too pragmatic can provoke mediocrity or inspired work. So you see, we all tend to go too far extreme on our preferred behaviors. So what DiSC says is, well, each behavior has a positive and a negative. So what you do is you read the definition and you look for that middle word or that middle phrase. But the downside is, but, okay, however, if taken too far, still crossing over into, you see what I'm saying? It tends to balance the positive over here, the positive right here, the positive here, to what? To the negative following that statement. And this is where you guys can use this to really coach each other and get to know each other more by seeing the positives and negatives of each personality. So that's why I would say, Heather, read page 5, page 6, page 7, page 8, and page 9. Then tell me if you think that this is you. If not, we'll either redo the survey, or I'll just have to tell Terry she's impossible. I don't know what to do. Does that make sense? Go ahead, Terry.
No, I was just going to say, it really is, it's a matter of becoming self-aware too, when you go to these places, of being able to recognize it and either pull yourself out of it or just come to terms with where you're at with it too.
Yeah.
So that's really when you start to see the negative sides of it, that's where you're like, hey, yeah, remember that assessment. This is where I go, or, where, and even somebody, if you're working with another team member, hey, that's where Heather's going. Let's try and pull her out of it, or, take a break, or, kind of transition in a different way. So it's a matter of being self-aware of these two, and then being able to recognize them as a team member when we have another team member going into some of their more negative characteristics.
Yeah, I usually don't go into a quarterly or annual review without a DiSC very well, having used the DiSC profile to help me find the right language and the right behavior instead of using my own buzzwords and stuff like that. It's very, very effective for that. Why? Because the team member that I'm coaching or mentoring, they're already familiar with their survey, and they said in the training that this is them. So if I point out some negative things, they can't come back and say, well, that's not me. Wait a minute, that was a training where I was exposed, you were exposed. You know what I'm saying? And so, but we'll use it as not unilaterally. It's not just from the supervisor to the team member. It's the team member up can also speak to why, because we're going to be more open about what we bring to the table, both good, bad, and ugly. Okay, so let's go take a look at Debra. You okay? You ready for yours?
Yeah.
Okay, so then we do the same thing and we follow the same pattern. We go to page 4, read it, get to know a little bit about yourself, and then go to 5. And what? Here's a little test. Ready? Okay, where are the definitions for elements, the D elements? What page?
6.
Page 6. Okay, for the I is where? 7, 8, and 9. So if you want to know what each one of these words are, go to your own page, because that's where your pages are.
Okay.
Okay. And so here, daring, domineering, demanding, forceful, risk taker, adventuresome, decisive. Okay. But you're able to quickly, or at least you have in the past, seem to be able to be inactive. In other words, you calm, you know when to be active, you know when to back off. Okay. You've shown relaxed, non-demanding. Say it again. Say it again, Debra.
That's what I was wondering about the inactive, and I didn't read my definitions, but the inactive seems like in direct opposition to everything in D.
Yeah, it is. It is. It is, because that's what's cool thing about it. It's a balancing act.
Okay.
So in other words, you see yourself and you act daring, domineering to, man, you know what? I better back off of this a little bit.
Okay.
Okay, I waited long enough, back to being forceful. Okay, you know, I better be non-demonstrative. Okay, I'm gonna be adventuresome. No, you know what? I better balance that with some deliberateness.
Okay.
Okay, you know what? I'm gonna be domineering. Yeah, let me be a little amiable. Okay, so those are balancing acts, and that's why I said earlier, when high D's balance something with a high I, high S, or high C, especially in this area right here, is because they recognize that, you know what, my high D needs a little bit of a balancing act. Okay, and that's a strong quality. I'm going to say, you know, as opposed to many high Ds that have very high D, and they have their I is here, their S is here, and their C is here. That means they haven't balanced their high D with something else. Does that make sense?
It does.
So although it may seem contradicting, it's not contradicting, it's balancing. It's creating much more of a pleasant approach to your proactiveness. Okay. Whew, man, crawfish my way out of that one. Okay, I'm just kidding.
So is that kind of the natural versus and then the adaptive?
Yes, the adaptive, yes, the adaptive behavior tends to, the adaptive behavior in all of us tends to balance the primary, because we all tend, okay, especially those that have a primary and a secondary that are close to each other. That's usually the person recognizing that, ugh, I tend to overdo my primary. Let me balance it out with something else. Now, what would I tell Heather? Heather's isn't. Heather's, her high C is not this high. It's kind of here. So her secondary wasn't even close. Why? She doesn't need a secondary. Why? You're already very low in your primary, so your secondaries don't need to be that close, because there's not a whole lot of rough edges there. Does that make sense, Heather? Okay. And then now, when you probably, Heather, Debra, whenever you kind of go into a bad mood or things aren't going your way, this is where you maybe become evasive, you become your own person, you become self-righteous, opinionated, persistent, independent, rigid. And if things really don't go your way, I'm going to start controlling things. I'm going to retire. I'm going to become suspicious. I'm going to become pessimistic, aloof, withdrawn, and self-conscious. And I don't mean any offense to any of this, because I think I stepped on everybody's toes equally. Okay. It's just recognizing, y'all, again, what did I say about myself? Right? It's just recognizing that we all bring to the table strengths and weaknesses. We all bring to the table things that we emphasize, and we all bring our strengths up here, and we all bring our weaknesses down here. But also remember that in each one of these, there's a strength and a negative, a strength and a negative. Being, like Terry said, being aware of this is 70% of the improvement and the team dynamics of how a program like this can help. Because if I'm not hiding who I am, then now I can be open to coaching, open for good feedback. But if I'm constantly denying this, then I'm just going to make it harder for my team members to give me feedback on where I need improvement. So it's a lot of humility that needs to come into this. All right, Debra, you go first. Questions, comments, observations, challenges.
So what I noticed, and is it just because of what's happening around me that may make me go into that really low A? Or can it just be a mood swing? Because sometimes I feel like I'm down in A just because I'm in a bad mood.
Either one. It doesn't matter. It just simply says that you like to go down there.
Okay.
And so some people go down there because they're reacting to what's happening. But I can honestly tell you, my bad mood, 80% of it is not reactive.
Okay. That's what
I have got into a horrible habit in my life that if I really want to force Maurice to have to think through what it is that I want, I have to express sarcasm. And I learned that when I was 8 years old, and nobody whacked me out of it. Okay. And so for years, I learned to do that very openly and very okay. I didn't have to be upset about things. So my wife, early in our marriage, she's like, you like to get angry all the time. I'm not angry. I'm honestly not angry. I just like to be sarcastic. It's one of my favorite places to go to make decisions. And she's like, well, can you stop that? And I'm like, I don't know that I can. I don't know where to go with this. I've always, you know what I'm saying? I always go there, you know? Yeah, but you're kind of rude and tactless. And I'm like, yeah, everybody's been telling me, but I don't know how to get out of it. You know, but it was, I fought against her and I fought against everybody trying to cook until somebody gave me my DiSC profile. And I saw it down there and I was like, oh my goodness, my wife paid somebody a lot of money, you know, but it was recognizing, Deborah, that it wasn't out of reacting to the externals. It's a place that I would go to because I found it useful for me. It was a safe place, and I didn't realize I was being so negative about it because I didn't go into my bad mood because I was being negative. I was being comfortable, but it was showing itself to be so negative. I didn't realize the impact I was having on my reputation, my decision making, my ideas. A friend of mine basically said, Maurice, you really got to stop, man. I mean, you know, whenever you tell your own jokes and then you laugh at yourself and you're the only one laughing, I mean, it's so heavy with the tone of sarcasm that, dude, we don't like any of your ideas. And I'm like, that cannot be happening to me. You know what I'm saying? But it's realizing that it doesn't have to be out of a reaction. It's just, we tend to go there because we like that. Does that make sense a little bit, Debra?
It does. So, and I guess I need to just read my definitions. So me as a risk taker versus a calculated risk taker.
Yes.
Does that mean that I need to kind of stop and think more about some of the things that I want to, some of the things that I just instinctively want to jump at and do?
Yeah. What number are you looking at? What number are you referring to?
I'm sorry.
What column are you referring to? DISC. Which one?
Oh, the D.
The D. Number 22.
Yes.
Okay, got it. Okay, so yeah, well, let's go take a look at it. D.
Yeah, 22.
And that was
Like verses 14.
risk taker. Is that the one we're talking about?
It is.
Okay, risk taker. All right, let's take a look at that. Risk taker. Okay. Being the one who makes bold decisions and executing can be a definite strength, especially when others are not in a position to do so. However, when taken to an extreme or used inappropriately, risk-taking can be perceived as self-serving or reckless.
Okay.
Gosh, that's so Maurice. Yeah. I mean, Tim constantly tells me, you know, Maurice, it really never is about you, even this conversation. I'm like, okay, Tim, yes, you're right. Okay, yeah. So yeah, does that word and that definition resonate, Debra?
Yeah, I don't know. Well, I don't know. I don't know that I ever get to that risk or perceived as self-serving or reckless. Maybe self-serving. I don't know. I'll have to ask them later.
Yeah, great. And see, what we're doing here is what I encourage y'all to do. Read page 5 through 9. Circle anything that really resonates with you.
Okay.
Put a question mark on something you know what I'm saying, and put an X on something that, or next to the X on something that says that is not me.
Okay.
You know, and if y'all want to do another session, and you know, you guys talk to Terry, send it to Terry, send it to me, and then we can have another one and have a discussion, and we can continue however you guys want.
And if you feel like there's one that you're just like, this is totally not me, ask somebody, like
Right.
ask a trusted partner, ask your kids, ask, you know, team members, each other, and be like, hey, does this sound like me? And more times than not, somebody's going to be like, Yeah, it kind of does. Like, and be able to give you an example too, a situation. Because again, this applies to not just professionally, but personally as well. We're the same person, we go through the same problem solving, whether we're in office or at home. So it's going to translate to both areas. So just ask somebody if one catches you off a little bit and it doesn't seem applicable. I would phone a friend on it and find out.
Yeah.
Taker is applicable. I'm just wondering, is that versus when I'm looking at the calculated risk taker, does that mean that and I am a risk taker, I don't know, is that something because it's not calculated? Is that something that I need to stop myself from and maybe back off? Or
what's the definition, do you know, Maurice, of calculated risk taker? It's not in any of ours that we've got. Yeah, no, I don't have that in mine either.
No. But let's take a look at something.
Just to be able to, one versus the other, if you will, for Debra to know how to distinct the difference between the two.
And I don't think maybe I'm not making any sense. I don't think I'm a real calculated risk taker. I think this is accurate. I'm just wondering when I see myself doing that, do I need to really step back? Is that a dangerous?
You're saying, let me hear what you're saying. You're saying that you do see yourself as a risk taker. Is that correct? Yeah. Okay. And you're asking whether when you see that you should hold back a little bit.
Right.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So.
And when I'm talking about risk, I mean, I'm not like, hey, let me try this new drug and see how it does.
Correct. Correct.
Well, thank goodness. Gosh, I was worried.
Well,
like in business or
right.
In a financial situation or
right.
Taking risks financially with investments, it's that type of thing.
Yeah. So
either way, do I need to really control that?
My general answer, without knowing the details, okay, my general answer, and let me use it as a roadmap. North is always that way, but I'm not sure if you're trying to go to Walmart or, you know what I'm saying? I just, generally speaking, okay, I tend to answer questions like that with yes. It is really important for all of us to take that second thought and wonder, okay, hold on, I need to step back just a little bit, okay? Why? Because what I said earlier, all of us tend to shortcut this process. Remember that? Do I remember that discussion? So if you have an idea or you want to do something, a high risk taker is going to do what? They're going to think of the idea, create enthusiasm in their head, and then they're going to take a high risk here and do what?
They're going to go backwards. Yeah.
Action, and then they're going to drive for results, and then they're going to say, okay, now that it's not working, or now that didn't work, let's worry about the details. Yeah, but you see that's wrong. Okay, so everybody needs to practice the same journey. Go to enthusiasm about an idea, collaborate with others about what they think. Think about the process that you need to probably build in place. Ask stability questions, or is it going to be creating a lot of chaos? Then start asking some of the tough accuracy questions. Challenge the idea. Go ahead and make the decisions, and then expect results.
Okay.
If all of us learn to do that with each other and by ourselves, we would avoid more bad decisions in our personal and professional life, because none of us are good at all these. So therefore, what I bring to the table that I'm good at, I'm counting on Terry to say, okay, Mo, fine, but I don't want you to move over here. I need us to talk about this. Okay, then let's talk about this. And then the other person chimes in and says, all right, let's go ahead and do the rest of it. So we're all putting ourselves through the same maze, through the same journey. Does that help a little bit?
It helps a lot. No, that makes perfect sense. So It all goes back to still working around the circle in the correct way.
Yeah, it's the Wizard of Oz. If you're afraid, what do? Follow the yellow brick road. Okay? If you don't have a heart, what do? Well, just follow the yellow brick road. Okay? If you don't have a brain, what do? Follow yellow brick road. Okay. In this that we call collaboration and team dynamics, there's so many scenarios. What's the answer? Okay. What's the answer?
Follow the yellow brick road.
And what's the yellow brick road?
It's your circle going.
Exactly. It's the circle. It's the decision-making circle that keeps us on the road, and it forces all of us to depend on what the other person brings so we can keep things moving. I guarantee you the dominance will not let things sit. The I's will not let things get boring. The S's will not let things get out of order, and the C's will not approve that freaking budget unless you make sense out of it.
Okay.
But if we bypass and we don't give everybody the ability to speak to that area of that decision, then we hurt the decision, we disrespect the person, and we put the firm at risk. It's the discipline of staying on the yellow brick road. And Terry, this is the first time I use that now. I think I'm going to have to copyright that or something. That's
Yeah.
pretty good.
Glad it happened on this call.
That's right. So Debra, whenever Carrie says, "Oh, so I wonder," and she throws out a scenario, and you're going to think through it, ultimately, what do you know the answer is?
Well, I know I need to think through it, but I see that because we discussed some stuff just yet, and I'm like, no, I'm right. Let's go, let's go this way. So
Exactly.
I think it's harder. I guess that's why I was asking you about the risky behavior. It was more like it's always hard for me to go this way. It's probably harder for everybody else because I am so stuck over here.
You wouldn't be a true D if you didn't risk making decisions, bypassing all those other steps.
Okay.
Because in all reality, Debra, you probably have had the conversation of every one of those steps in your own head by yourself.
Okay.
So you're ready to make a decision. Yeah, but your team doesn't know anything about all that.
Right.
And a high D doesn't want to take the time to sit down and explain it. Or better yet, I'm only going to say it once. And everybody's like, I don't even know what she said. Because the D had the conversation all in their head. And when it came out in fraction of a time. The dominant individual takes weeks to think about stuff, but they're not telling anybody. And then when it comes out, it's all about, what do you think now? Why? Because the conversation's being had up there. So yeah, you wouldn't be a real D if you weren't honest enough to tell me, yeah, I hate those other steps. Yeah, I know you do. That's why you're a good D. So you just need to get your team members to step it up a little, but it really boils down to is that weekly meeting and respecting the fact that it's a weekly decision process.
That's helpful.
But thank you.
Wow. I mean, because I think I'm the strongest of the three in one certain category, and I think that hurts us in.
Well, let's say it this way, you're and don't hesitate from saying it. You are the strongest one in your team in that one area of the styles that is the most aggressive.
Right.
Don't be ashamed of that. Don't apologize for it and don't mince any words. That's your strength. If it wasn't for all the D's, we would all be in the year 1200. We would not have invented electricity. We would have not crossed the ocean. We would have not built the pyramids. And you know what I'm saying? Dominance drive the world because they force everybody to take risks that we don't want to. So say it loudly and proudly. Okay. I'm a high D. I just need to chill out every once in a while, and just learn how to do the yellow brick road and how to balance it and listen more to my team members. And every one of the others brings the same value. If it wasn't for the high I's, there wouldn't be air conditioning in cars. I mean, really, do you really need an air conditioner in the car, or can we get there without it? It's not essential, but it's not essential, but neither is a tie. A tie is not essential. How about a centerpiece in a table? No, it's not essential. But eyes know how to create life out of something non-essential, because life needs a tie. Life needs a table. You know what I'm saying? S's, what do they bring to the table? Calm. We're the ones that, they're the ones that plead on the vacations. Can we please just relax for 1 week, please? And they're the ones who are just trying to get everybody's blood pressure to drop. You know, but we don't value that because the D's just believe that only their style is what counts. The I's only want to go woohoo, you know, because they don't respect that there's a place for an S to say, you know what? And then the C's, what do C's bring to the table? They're the ones who are looking at the map the whole time and going, I think we passed the exit 2 hours ago. They're the ones that just keep us realistic. Okay. So if we just all agree we're going to go around the circle in the right order, everyone will feel the respect. Woo-hoo about the vacation. Let's chill out every once in a while. Let's do things in orderly, and let's hurry up and don't take forever in the rest area. We got to keep things moving. You know what I'm saying? Again, does this make sense, y'all?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's definitely our high C.
What's that?
We're just talking about one of the team members. I feel like Ashley's our high C because she's the one that's like, okay, you missed the exit 2 hours ago. Yeah.
Right.
I'm a high C.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
Yeah. So whenever Terry and I have ideas, I tell her an idea and I make sure, well, no, I didn't do that until recently. Okay. It's like, Terry, I got this. I have to calm it down and say, Terry, how about we talk again in about a week to 2 weeks about it? Okay. And I know one thing for sure. She is thinking through every single one of the details. Okay. And I just got to be patient enough to recognize that if she doesn't spend time on that, I'm just going to go off on stuff on my own and risk reputation, risk quality. So that's why you got to really depend on each other's and what the other person brings to the table.
It definitely is a balancing act, if you will. And so that's why it's important that we're self-aware of where we're at with those styles and that our team members are self-aware of it as well, because it's like, once you see it and again, articulate the words and such, it's easier for me to say that that's Maurice's natural way of being, right? He can't fight it. That's his natural way of doing things. And so it's not you're just doing that because I'm Terry. He does that to everybody. So it's not a personal thing. I just know that that's his style. So, you know, it takes a lot of feelings out of it too. We're emotional beings. And so when somebody goes to water down, you know, an idea, it's not because, you know, I knew Terry was going to say that. That's Terry's style of starting to question, well, hey, Maurice, that's really great, but have you thought through this, and that? And it's like, well, let's think about that. And so it begins to, you know, it kind of starts a conversation instead of I'm trying to pick it apart. I'm trying to make sense of it and how we can make it work. Because I mean, ultimately, that's what we want to do. How can we make this idea work in lieu of, you know, I'm trying to, you know, throw a cold blanket on it or a wet blanket on it. So, but it took us a while. It doesn't, you know, just because you guys got these assessments today, tomorrow things change. You know, Maurice and I working together every week on projects and learning each other's styles and knowing that, hey, if we can't make a decision on this call, we know by next week we have to make a decision or whatever it is. Let's think about these things. And the two of us have to collaborate and work together to make that happen and recognize that decisions have to ultimately be made. You know, we're on a timetable here of making decisions on certain projects.
When we've had disagreements or we go sideways with each other or we get each other upset, it's because this isn't a Coke machine. You don't stick a quarter in, press a button, and we got it. No, this is, you know, this is learning how to adjust. I don't work well in the C world. I don't. I can't think well. It's too quiet. It's too methodical. And so I just don't think well. And so after about 9, 12, 17 minutes of thinking in a slow, methodical way, I get impatient. And so my tone changes. And then Terry recognizes that, and then I notice her tone change, and I go, hey, why are you upset with me? I don't upset you. I started it, and it's because Maurice just, every once in a while, every 12 or 18 minutes, somebody please crack a joke or say something enthusiastic. I just get, and so, whereas Terry can go 14 and a half days, just even keel. You know what I'm saying? And I say that jokingly, it's just, she has a talent that I don't have, she's able to sustain conversations in a much more methodical manner, and I'm just not able to. I need, it's just, but that's where we just need to value and respect what we all bring to the table. Yeah. Has this helped, John? Have you enjoyed this?
Yeah.
Sorry that I went a little longer. I apologize for that.
It's okay. Sorry, I asked so many questions.
No,
That's great.
Powerful though.
Yeah, it's really.
But to hear you hash that out about yourself helps us,
Well, that's, yeah.
to
There you
understand.
go. That's fantastic. That's a really good point. That's a really good point. Yeah.
And what we could do to help.
Yeah.
All right. Well, whenever y'all want to do another one, let's do another one.
Yeah. Very cool. So I'll get the recording to you all along with the yellow brick road wheel, if
Yeah.
you will, so that you all can have it as reference. And if you're agreeable, I would like just in that one email to share each of your assessments. Okay,
Each other.
good. Thank you for all nodding in agreement. So I'll send one email with all of that included so that you guys have it as reference. The video link will be active for 30 days, just so you all know, in case there's something you want to go back and be like, what did Maurice say? Or, how did we decide we were, maybe be able to use this moving forward? You can go back and watch it. If you need it after that, you'll just need to email me and let me know. We'll put it into our catalog essentially. So the link will break once we move it into our catalog, but that's that. So if you have any questions though, don't hesitate emailing Maurice and I will be happy to provide any clarification on your assessment. Once you sit down and get to read it, I suggest a really big bottle of wine when you do. It's really, it can be, you might want to read it in doses. It can be a bit much. I remember when I read mine, and going, yep, I see this, especially as we talked about the positive and negative definitions. I know I can just picture myself in situations where I've gone there, and it's not a proud moment, but again, it's just to help self-recognize, help you become self-aware that when you go into those places in an instant, you can sometimes pull yourself out of it, but to see your positives as a positive, those are good things. Don't fight nature. You have developed these skills. They are skill sets that you each bring that are individual and unique to you. So use them to your advantage. But then, once you see it slipping into the negative part of it, be self-aware and pull yourself out of it.
For right now, ignore anything after page 12. That's for later, more advanced mentoring. Don't worry. So just enjoy page 1 through 12. Okay. And the second last point is if you let your significant others read it, just know you're probably going to need 2 glasses of wine.
Because then they're going to give you scenarios.
That's right. They're going to tell you, I've been telling you this for years.
All right, everyone. Thank
See
you
y'all
very
later.
much. And that email will probably come out tomorrow. It'll take a while for it to download to the cloud. So it'll be tomorrow or something at the earliest.
Okay, sounds
Thank
good.
you all much.
All right. See you
Bye-bye.
all. Bye.
Bye.